Good morning. For my second book presentation, I'd like to introduce you to a book that I found at my library and fell in love with. It is called You Forgot Your Skirt, Amelia Bloomer, and it's by Shanna Corey, and it's illustrated by Chesley McLaren. I really love this book. It falls into the category of biographical nonfiction because it is about Amelia Bloomer, who was a real person in history, and she did change real events in history, so that's why it is classified as biographical nonfiction. Amelia Bloomer was a member of the women's rights movement. She believed that women didn't have the same rights as men, and so she decided she needed to change some of those rights. And one thing that she did was she started a newspaper, and this story talks a little bit about that. And I'd like to read you a part of this. There were lots of things about what women were going through that Amelia thought was silly, and this was one of the things she thought was silly. She said, Amelia Bloomer thought it was silly that proper ladies were not supposed to work, so she started her own newspaper and went to work on that. She named the newspaper The Lily. It was a special newspaper all about women. She hired other women to work on it too. A shame, people said. On top of the fun story, this book has some beautiful illustrations, and that's one of the things I really enjoy about this book is the illustrations. But the biggest issue that Amelia had with some of the women's rights was the clothing. And she felt that the clothing that women wore was restrictive, and so she wanted to make a change. And I want to read you this page. It says, the silliest thing of all, Amelia Bloomer thought, was the way that proper ladies were supposed to dress. Their dresses were so heavy, wearing them was like carting around a dozen bricks. Was that proper? Their dresses were so long that proper ladies looked like walking broomsticks. They acted like broomsticks too because their skirts swept all the mud and trash from the streets. What was proper about that? So this illustration is a dress that has a bunch of bricks tied to ribbons. And then on this page you can see the dirt and the garbage that this dress is picked up here. So some of Amelia's friends, who are also part of the women's rights movement, came to visit, and Elizabeth was wearing an interesting outfit. And Amelia thought, well, that's really interesting. And so she asked Elizabeth what that was, and they were pantaloons. They were kind of a loose pant that was tapered down at the ankle, and she wore it with a short dress. And Amelia thought, well, that might be the answer to this dress problem that I'm dealing with. So she decided to wear some pantaloons out in public, and the reaction was shock and surprise, and a little boy cried out to her and said, "You forgot your skirt, Amelia Bloomer," which was the title of the book. I think that the reason I enjoyed this book so much was because it was about a real person. It was about a person who saw a need for change, and so she decided to change things, which I really love. At the end of this book, there is an author's note, and it talks all about Amelia Bloomer, where she was born, what she did after the newspaper, kind of how she helped with the women's rights movement. It's really fascinating to read. I think this book would be great for children of all ages. Probably it could be an independent read for children 9 and up, but it would be a great teacher read, or a read that a parent could read to a child and talk about change and what they can do to change things. So that's my book. I hope you can all pick it up from your library and read it.